It was a crisp morning at Starlight Brew, the kind of place where the smell of roasted beans could pull you in from the street. I was in line, thumbing through work emails on my phone, half listening to the hum of conversation and the hiss of the espresso machine. Then, like a storm cloud rolling in, I heard her. The sharp tap of manicured nails on the counter, the kind of sound that demands attention. I glanced up and there she was, Lydia Hartwell, the iron-fisted president of the Crestwood Pines HOA, where I'd just bought a house. Her sleek blonde hair was pinned back, and her designer sunglasses sat like a crown on her head. Lydia was infamous in our neighborhood, the kind of woman who'd slap a fine on you if your mailbox leaned a degree too far or your hedges grew a whisker too wild. She was glaring at the barista, her lips pursed tight enough to crack a walnut. "Excuse me," she said, her voice slicing through the cafe like a siren. "I ordered an extra hot sugar-free vanilla latte with almond milk. This is oat milk. Do you even know how to do your job?" The barista, a young woman with a name tag reading Sophie, looked like she'd just been slapped. Her cheeks flushed, but she kept her cool. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. Let me remake that for you right now." Lydia didn't even blink at the apology. Instead, she shoved the cup away, letting it teeter on the edge of the counter. "This place used to be decent," she snapped, loud enough for every head in the room to turn. "Now it's a disaster. Every single time I come here, you people mess it up." I could feel the air in the cafe shift. People at nearby tables peeked over their laptops, some annoyed, others just soaking in the drama. I kept my eyes on my phone, pretending to scroll, but I was all ears. I'd been on the receiving end of Lydia's wrath before a nasty note taped to my door because my recycling bin was Sybil, an hour before pickup. As someone who'd worked retail in college, my heart went out to Sophie, who was clearly new and trying not to crumble. Sophie nodded, mumbling something about getting the manager, and scurried to the back. Lydia, meanwhile, pulled out her phone, muttering about documenting this incompetence, and demanding Sophie's employee number. The cafe went quiet, everyone pretending they weren't watching the showdown. I stole a glance at Lydia, her face a mask of righteous fury, and I couldn't help but think she was enjoying this. A moment later, the manager, a woman in her 30s named Claire, appeared with a fresh latte and a smile that looked like it took effort. "I'm so sorry for the mix-up," she said, handing over the cup. "I made this one myself, almond milk, extra hot, just as you asked." Lydia snatched it without a word of thanks, took a dramatic sip, and her face twisted like she'd just tasted poison. "This is still wrong," she barked. "I can tell it's not almond milk. Are you trying to ruin my day on purpose?" The accusation was so wild that a guy at a nearby table raised an eyebrow at his friend. Claire's jaw tightened, but she stayed calm. "I promise it's almond milk, but I'll make another if..." Lydia cut her off, her voice hitting a pitch that could shatter glass. "I don't have time for this nonsense. I have an HOA meeting in 20 minutes where people actually value my time." Then, in a moment that felt like it slowed time itself, Lydia's face flushed red, and she hurled the full cup of steaming coffee across the counter. The lid popped off midair, and a wave of hot liquid splashed onto Sophie, who just returned from the back. It hit her chest and arms, soaking her apron. Sophie gasped, her face twisting in pain and shock as coffee dripped onto the floor. The cafe froze. Nobody breathed. Lydia, looking smug, grabbed her purse and turned for the door. "Maybe next time you'll get it right," she sneered. My hands were shaking, but I didn't think I just acted. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. "Hi," I said, keeping my voice low but clear. "I'm at Starlight Brew on Crestwood Drive. A customer just threw hot coffee at an employee. It's an assault." Before Lydia could make it to the exit, a tall guy in a flannel shirt stepped in her way. I recognized him, Mike, a firefighter from the station nearby. "Ma'am," he said, his voice steady but firm, "you're not going anywhere. That was assault, and the police are on their way." Lydia's smugness melted into disbelief. "Assault? Are you kidding me? It was just coffee, And they screwed up my order twice. I'm the VY Tim here. But the room wasn't buying it. A woman in scrubs, who'd been typing furiously on her laptop, stood up, holding her phone. I got the whole thing on VY Dale, she said, her tone icy. You threw that coffee right at her. That's assault, plain and simple. Lydia's face paled, but she doubled down, slipping into a performance worthy of an Oscar. She provoked me, she cried. This Sir VYC here is awful, and I was just frustrated. You didn't see how rude she was. Claire, who'd rushed to Sophie with a cold towel for her reddened skin, pointed to the ceiling. We have security cameras, she said, her voice sharp. Everything's recorded, audio included. Outside, sirens wailed, getting closer. Lydia's eyes darted to the door, and she tried to push past Mike, but he didn't budge. The police will handle this, he said calmly. You can tell them your side. 2 officers walked in, one of whom I recognized from a neighborhood watch meeting, Officer Daniels. He scanned the scene, the wet counter, Sophie clutching the towel, and Lydia standing with her arms crossed, looking like she'd been personally insulted by the universe. What's going on here? Daniels asked. Lydia jumped in before anyone else could. This is absurd, she spat. I'm being detained over a misunderstanding. I'm the president of Crestwood Pines HOA, and I have a meeting to run. Do you know who my husband is? He's on the city council at VY Sorry board. Daniels didn't flinch. Ma'am, we got a call about an assault. I need your ID. Lydia's chin shot up. I don't have to show you anything. This is harassment. The second officer, who'd been reviewing the security footage with Claire, nodded grimly to Daniels. Ma'am, Daniels said, his patience thinning. I'm asking one more time for your ID. We have witnesses and VY Dale of what looks like assault. When Lydia refused again, he sighed. Turn around and place your hands behind your back. You're being detained. Lydia's jaw dropped as Daniels took her purse, pulled out her wallet, and cuffed her wrists. This is outrageous, she shrieked. I'm a respected member of this community. That girl deserved it for her incompetence. The room gasped at her words, and even Daniels raised an eyebrow. Lydia Hartwell, he said, you're under arrest for assault. You have the right to remain silent. As they led her out, her face turned beet red, and she screamed. You'll all regret this. I'll sue this cafe, the police, every one of you. Through the window, I watched her get loaded into the cruiser, still ranting as the door slammed shut. Inside, the cafe seemed to breathe again. People crowded around Sophie, offering kind words. Claire announced Sophie was taking the day off with pay and asked if she needed a doctor. Luckily, the coffee had cooled a bit during the remix, and while Sophie's skin was red and sore, it wasn't badly burned. I walked up to Claire and gave my contact info as a witness. I live in her HOA, I said quietly. She's been bullying everyone for years. It's about time someone stopped her. 3 days later, an email from the Crestwood Pines HOA popped into my inbox, announcing an emergency board meeting. That night, I joined the VY ritual call, and I swear every household in the neighborhood was there way more than the usual handful who bothered to show up. The VYC president, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else, started the meeting. As you may know, he said, our president, Lydia Hartwell, was arrested after an incident at Starlight Brew. She's been charged with misdemeanor assault, which violates our board's code of conduct. The vote to remove her was swift and unanimous. Then, like a ghost, Lydia's face appeared on the screen. She joined the call, looking rougher than I'd ever seen her, no makeup, hair a mess. This is illegal, she sputtered. You can't remove me. I've poured my life into this community. The VYC president didn't miss a beat. Lydia, the vote's final. We've also had countless complaints about your behavior. We're adding new rules to stop homeowner harassment. Lydia's face froze, her voice shaking with fury. You can't do this to me. I built this HOA. The call ended abruptly, and I could almost hear the neighborhood cheering. Word got around fast. Lydia was fined due la 2,500, sentenced to 100 hours of community service, and ordered to take anger management classes. She had to pay Sophie for medical costs and emotional distress. But the real blow came when her real estate firm, where she sold million-dollar homes, cut her loose after the VY Dale went VY-rel. A neighbor sent me a clip of Lydia Leah VYing her office, clutching a box of her things, her face a mask of shock as she realized her empire had crumbled. Lydia Hartwell, the queen of Crestwood Pines, was done. And as I sipped my coffee at Starlight Brew the next week, watching Sophie smile behind the counter, I couldn't help but think justice tasted pretty damn good.